Last week in Des Moines, Iowa, Corey Sandhagen main evented a UFC fight night and beat Davison Figueiredo and finished him in the first few rounds. That was excellent, but the biggest story throughout social media to me that I've seen is in the co-main event where Reiner de Ritter, the number 13th ranked middleweight contender, former two Division One champion beat Bo Nickal and knocked him out with a vicious knee strike in the second round and handed Bo Nickal his first loss, and he moves to 7-1. And now de Ritter, 3 straight wins in the UFC and 3 straight finishes. And although his ranking stayed at number 13, he has a bright future ahead of him, and I think he is a legit contender, not for the future, for right now. RDR is legit, and called out Sean Strickland after the fight, and I would love to see that. And if it's not Strickland, I would love to see him in there with another top 10 guy, because I think he is very close to a title shot if he can keep up his winning streak. But as I mentioned, the biggest story, it wasn't necessarily RDR winning, it was Bo Nickal losing. And because before this, Bo Nickal, as we know, showed his supreme confidence and said that he is just on a different level than everyone else. And he said before that people are resurfacing the clips of Bo Nickal saying that he thinks if he would have fought Chimaev, he would have been a -1,000 favorite about. If he would have fought for the title, he would be a big favorite. And all this stuff, it's cool to bring that in retrospect, but it's also in the opposite end. I'm not going to fully fault a guy for being confident, because up until this point in this loss, Bo Nickal rightfully earned all of the spotlight and all of the big spots he got on big cards because of what he accomplished. He was a 3-time Big Ten champion. He was a 3-time NCAA Division I national champion, and that stuff doesn't go away just because he loses one MMA fight. That's what people need to realize. And everyone's saying fraud check, this, that. It's one of the stupidest things that I've seen on the MMA community and on Twitter in particular, because I don't know how he could be a fraud when he lost to, like I said, Reiner de Ritter, who is a legit title contender. I mentioned a former two-time two-division champion in another top 3 organization in the world, and up until this point, he has risen to the occasion every single time. And you can say the last fight against Paul Craig might have been a little boring for your liking, but he beat Paul Craig flat out on the feet. And he proved that he could do more than wrestling. And the crazy part about all of this is Bo Nickal made his MMA debut in June of 2022. So that's less than 3 years ago he made his MMA debut. And although he is 29 years old, he still is a debutante in MMA. He's not a debutante, but he still is a newer fighter in this sport. And as Bo said, as his coach Mike Brown said after the fight, it's not looking after the fact, but Mike Brown said their team at American Top Team was worried about this matchup with RDR because of the experience factor, because how well-rounded RDR is, and that Bo's game, not to the fault of his own, but just it's not developed enough, because he, like I said, he hasn't even been in the sport 3 years, and nobody has been under this level of bright lights this soon into your pro career, because this was just his 5th fight in the UFC and 8th fight overall. He hasn't even had 10 MMA fights. And yes, I get when I'm playing a little bit of both sides here, and I get when you want to be confident and you want to say that you can take on guys like Chimaev right now and the champion and Dracus du Plessis and all these things. I get you can give the guy pushback, but to push a guy when he's down is it's flat out wrong. I disagree with it. And to say that Bo Nickal's career, people are saying his career is over, and just because you suffer one loss doesn't mean your career's over. If you really want to break it down, there's only one guy that has that has had a long career and a flat out perfect record, and that's Khabib. John Jones has, a blemish on his resume. I know there's controversy with that, but even if you want to include him, who else has a perfect record? Nobody. Nobody in this day in an age in MMA is going to have a perfect record. And if it wasn't going to be here, Bo was going to slip up somewhere else. And I think that this can be used as a great learning lesson for Bo and for his team to see where he needs to get better. And when he was getting hit with those vicious knees and punches on the feet, he's never felt that in a live action, and you can't replace that. It's that simple. When you're taking vicious knees to the liver, you just don't. In-fight experience is the most important. He didn't have that. And even if you look before this, his first 7 fights, his last fight was the only time he went 15 full minutes. The other fights, he had a finish in the first or second round, and it barely was any competition. So the step up in competition was a lot, and maybe it was too much too soon, but that doesn't mean that Bo Nickal is a fraud. While saying all that, like I said, Reiner de Ridder is a contender. He is an incredible fighter, and I think this loss will age well because I think RDR will fight for a title in the near future. I think Bo might need to take a little bit of a step back to build up his skills and become more of a well-rounded fighter and adjust his game plan moving forward. I think he needs to do a better job of taking down his opponents because that is his bread and butter, and I think that'll all come with live action in the cage. But overall, I'm not too worried with Bo Nickal. I think he'll bounce back. He's an elite athlete. This isn't the first time he's lost. He's lost in college. He lost at the Olympic trials a couple years ago. He always has shown resilience, and I think he will do just that in the near future. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I'm Ryan Wohl, and be sure to subscribe for more combat sports videos.